Hi, my name's Steve and this is a 4-day e-bike ride in South Hampshire and the Isle of Wight. I chose this route to keep to quiet lanes as far as possible and avoid the built-up areas around Southampton. I decided it was best to use my e-bike for this trip, out of concern for my lack of fitness and endurance when carrying my gear for a few days away. I'm lucky to live on the doorstep of the South Downs National Park, and so very soon I'm into the network of quiet single track lanes. Hambledon claims to be the birthplace of cricket and have the first commercial vineyard. My cycling buddy John can always be found here at the Old Forge Cafe. Bishop's Waltham is a historic medieval market town in Hampshire and also my first coffee stop for people watching. You can find here the ruins of Bishop's Waltham Palace, first built in 1136 by Henry de Bois, who was the grandson of William the Conqueror. En route to Winchester, the quiet single-track lanes go up over the hills to pass through the villages of Upham and Bembridge. The motor assistance makes climbing these hills far more pleasure than pain. It's time for a second coffee break, and somebody's put a very convenient bench there with my name on it. After the very busy road from Twyford and then passing under the M3, the cycle path into Winchester past St Catherine's Hill is an absolute joy, taking you almost right into the city centre. Winchester was once the capital of England during the reign of King Alfred the Great, and is steeped in history. It's well worth a visit, but sadly the rain started straight after lunch, so I didn't hang around. En route, I passed this very sad memorial to a cyclist, Dave Davenport, killed here in 2021. St Mary's Church in Ashley is a remarkably well preserved 12th century Norman church, located about 4 miles east of Stockbridge. King's Somborne is another lovely historic village and provided me with a very convenient bench for my afternoon food break. Finally, after 52 miles of riding, I arrived at the New Forest Lodge, where I was able to take my bike into the room. Very convenient. Even more convenient was the Royal Jaipur Indian restaurant right next door. Today takes me up into the New Forest, across to Ringwood and down to Christchurch and Mudeford on the coast, before making my way back into the New Forest for overnight. A small climb, and then I pass over a cattle grid and into the national park. Wild ponies and cattle can be found all over the New Forest, and they're really lovely to see. planned my route to take in some gravel tracks, which were magical, really quiet and full of birdsong. The weather was still cool for May, but I found the most perfect spot in the sun to sit for a nice coffee and biscuit break. Absolute heaven. Ringwood has a busy Wednesday street market, but on a Tuesday seems a bit quiet. Yes, yet another stop for food. I was very grateful for this bridge over the busy A35. And so I arrived in Christchurch, beautifully peaceful by the river. Christchurch is another ancient settlement nestled between the rivers Avon and Stour, and at this point I've actually strayed into Dorset. Mudeford, right on the coast, has a rich history of smugglers, and of course a lovely view of the Isle of Wight and the Needles where I'm heading tomorrow. Some lovely bike paths around here, nicely tarmacked, well done to the local council. A few miles outside town, I rode past a dramatic high cliff castle. Just before I got to my accommodation, I went past the motorcycle museum, which for some bizarre reason had an airplane on the front lawn. Tonight's accommodation is called The Retreat. Based in the New Forest, it seems to be very popular for corporate events and yoga getaway breaks. Tonight's meal, venison pie and mash with veg. Lovely. Day 3 was a wet start, riding down to Lymington to catch the ferry to Yarmouth on the Isle of Wight. On the coast at Milford on Sea, great views of the Needles, where I hope to arrive by lunchtime. Lymington is a pretty town, now very popular with the sailing community. There's another one with plenty of smuggling history. Arriving in Yarmouth with much increased westerly winds and squalls, the e-bike assist was so invaluable in climbing up the Needles against the wind. top of the hill the wind was so bad in the rain squalls I had to walk the bike a little while for fear of being blown off it. In the afternoon I was able to enjoy a following wind right across the Isle of Wight, but still cold winds with many showers to shelter from. I included some traffic-free cycle paths which were an absolute joy with decent surfaces, although probably uncomfortable if you're on a road bike. These paths were fantastic.
Hi there. Hello.
Sandown felt a bit sad in the cold, strong winds, but I think this applies to most UK seaside resorts experiencing similar weather. Not much choice eating in Sandown, so yet another Indian beckoned. The final day of my trip was a cold headwind ride down to Bembridge, up through St Helens and then down to Ryde. It's hard to believe it's mid-May. As I come down into Ryde, great views of Portsmouth across the Solent. We had a lovely fast crossing on the Sea Cat ferry. I think all in all it was only about 22 minutes. Finally, arriving in Portsmouth, my local city. I'd originally planned to cycle around my local town taking more pictures, but the strong cold winds and heavy rain forecast brought the recorded part of this trip to an end. Thank you for watching to the end of this video. It's my first attempt and future ones should improve.